So in this video I want to have a quick overview of conservation ethics. Now conservation ethics is sometimes known as shallow ecology or conservationism. It's an anthropocentric theory because it focuses around humans. Now this is because it sees the environment as a means to an end. The environment only has an instrumental value. This means that its value only comes from its use. Humans, on the other hand, are seen to have an intrinsic value for conservation ethicists, and this intrinsic value means that they have a value within themselves, not just a value of how useful they are. So that's basically why it's an anthropocentric theory. Now Lavoisier supports, he's a philosopher, he supports this theory. Now this is because he justifies it by saying, look at the environment, nature takes its course through evolution. Some species that were there a million years ago, they're not here anymore. This is all part of nature, this is part of our development. This shows that we humans are the most important species because we have this ability to do stuff, and we've evolved over time from monkeys. That's why we're more powerful than monkeys, because they're still at the sort of previous stage. And what this implies is that if we have, for example, pandas going extinct, we shouldn't worry. It's just nature taking its course. He says it's natural, and that's why we should be supporting conservation ethics. Now, President Roosevelt of USA was between the late 19th century and early 20th century, and basically he was at the forefront of this because at that time the United States of America was industrialized, and you could begin to see that an ecological crisis would begin to come. So in his presidency, it was argued by his fellow colleagues that a comprehensive policy to plan the use of development of the natural resources should be put in place. But there was a lot of opposition from developers, from economists, from other people in the political party. So then they only had support from a minority of the public. But the whole point of why they wanted to put this together was to sustain natural resources without hindering economic growth. As you can see, economic prosperity had more value to them than the environment. Because if the environment had more value, then they wouldn't care about hindering economic growth. And the whole point of what President Roosevelt was doing was that he saw that basically if we want long-term future growth, we need long-term sort of preservation of resources. We need resources to use in the long term to develop technology and therefore get economic growth. But we cannot do this. This is not possible unless we have the environment. So as a conservation ethicist, he said, let's conserve the environment because it's going to be very useful in the future. So what are the implications of a theory like this? So I must say I am a bit of a conservation ethicist. I do agree with what they're saying. But the implication means that the environment can get exploited. So for example, for our pleasure of eating chicken and lamb and stuff, animals are allowed to be put in certain types of disgusting farms and stuff. And it's allowed because we are superior and that's what we want. And we have an intrinsic value. They're just instrumental. Their value is the price we see in the supermarket. So things are exploited, and maybe that respect is not given. And we don't understand animals or plants or the environment 100%. So we don't know what the long-term implications of this can be. And our drive for economic growth, economic prosperity, new technology is also leading this exploitation. This exploitation of resources, constantly trying to get a new technology out. It's only recently with the Green Revolution this has shifted, and that new technology is all based around being green instead of technology going forward as it is, because we've realized that we cannot sustain the way we are going. And so this exploitation basically leads to long-term hindrance to human growth and prosperity. So that's the main point. And that's the ironic part of this theory, is that you use the environment because humans have this, and you only protect it so that humans survive. But in the end, if we exploit it and we don't use the conservation side of this sort of theory, then we sort of damage human prosperity. Anyway, I hope this video helps. Thank you for watching. Please visit my blog.